Hello to those who have joined us today. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm on too.
Alrighty then, I think we are going to go ahead and get started. Hello everyone and welcome to Southern College of Optometry's November webinar on the wide world of optometry. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. My name is Avery Cunningham. I am a Student Services and Admissions Officer here at SCO. I'm one of the admissions team members who answers your admissions questions and participates in the admissions process. Before we get started, I ask that we all use proper Zoom etiquette by keeping microphones muted and less speaking, limiting background noise, and respecting all of this webinar's attendees and facilitators. We will have time for questions towards the end, but in the meantime, if you do have any questions or concerns that need immediate attention, please use the chat feature to communicate with us. You should be able to access that at the bottom of your screen. Today, as I said, we'll be discussing the wide world of optometry. You'll be hearing from several members of our residency program, those who have already achieved their Doctor of Optometry degrees and are now focusing on specific specialties, and they'll be talking about those specialties, what attracted them to those specialties in particular, and what they're hoping to accomplish as doctors within these specialties. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guests very quickly. I see Dr. Sarros and Dr. Nicole are already on. If you two wouldn't mind introducing yourselves very quickly, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nicole. I'm the Neuro ABI TBI resident here at SCO.
Thank you very much. And then Dr. Sarros.
Hey, I'm Dr. Sarros. I am the primary care and disease resident at SCO. And then Dr. Clark is here as well. She's sharing a computer with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Clark. I'm the PEDS BT and Vision Rehab resident at SCO.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. And I know we have a bit of a time crunch, so we'll go ahead and get started with Dr. Nicole sharing a little bit about your experience.
Okay, so I'm Canadian, so I went to undergrad in Canada. It's called University of Western Ontario. And then I did my optometry degree in Arizona at Midwestern University, Ascot, Glendale. I decided to do optometry because, so I wrote my MCAT twice and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to med school. And then I was in the process of doing my applications. And then one of my friends asked me, and he was like, why are you doing medicine? And I really didn't have a good enough answer that couldn't be solved by several other professions. And I knew I liked neuro and I knew I liked the eyes. Those were the only two things I enjoyed. And I knew I didn't want to do surgery. So then I did a little more research and expanded my understanding of what optometrists can and cannot do. And it just seemed like a very good fit for me. So I decided to pursue optometry, and I just wanted to start my life sooner than, 8 additional years of school after doing an undergrad and a master's. Optometry school was a great experience for me. It was my first time like living away from home, where I couldn't drive home whenever I wanted, just in case I wanted to see my parents. Arizona was beautiful. I loved the weather. I loved things to do outside. I was studying all the time probably, but it was kind of like a basal rate of studying. The way that ASCOP's program worked is that you would probably have like a couple exams a week, whereas I know different schools do like a midterm week instead. I'm currently studying neuro and brain injuries here at SCO. I chose this because, again, I like the brain and the eyes, and I like to be challenged. I like challenging patients, and this gives me the opportunity to not feel like my day is mundane. I usually see a lot of stroke patients, and then if I'm seeing traumatic brain injuries, there are actually a lot of young people that have been in motor vehicle accidents, and a lot of them have a lot of confusion about their world and how they perceive their vision. And then I also do a couple of days of direct care with adults, and most of the adults I see have systemic conditions like diabetes and hypertension. And just with the demographic that we serve here in Memphis, I find that a lot of these patients come in with an advanced form of their systemic disease, where you can see it manifesting in their eyes as well. I feel like we have really good relationships in this specialty specifically. Like, I just came from the rehab hospital, and I work with PTs and OTs and speech language pathologists and MDs as well. And we just kind of have a really good rapport. Like, we understand the value of each other and can provide the best care for our patients at that point. Like, the PTs and OTs know when to recognize that this is a visual problem and when to call us in, and we go straight in and we help them out. And same with the MDs and other ODs. I feel like this is such like a niche area of optometry that sometimes you just get those weird patients and you don't think that they've had like a brain injury or something. And then you really get to know them and it's like, oh, wow, I guess you did have a brain injury, and it explains a lot. My patients surprise me every single day. I see things I'm unfamiliar with every single day. I went into the rehab hospital, I'm usually looking for double vision or like visual processing disorders. And then one of them doesn't have an eyeball anymore. So I get surprised probably every single day. And what I find most rewarding about my specialty is that I can help a patient with little tips and tricks that we learn in optometry school and help them alleviate their double vision until they can come in for an eye exam where we can get to the root of the problem. And I feel like a lot of professions, you tell your patient what's wrong with them and you can't really give them an answer on how to make it better. But I feel like a lot of things in optometry, we do have the options to send them to the right places to make things better. It's a challenging specialty because brain injury patients are just different. The physiology of their brain is completely messed up at this time because it's healing. And if you think about it, when your body is sick and you're tired and you can't do anything, it's very similar to your brain being sick and it's having a hard time filtering out information, but the recovery process is so long. So every day is challenging because once you've seen one brain injury patient, you've only seen one brain injury patient, and everyone manifests differently. And there are a few tools that you can reach for in your kit, but not all of those tools work for everyone. And you will be stumped a lot of the time, but it is very rewarding because once you work through it, you're like, wow, I did a good job. I think this specialty impacts optometry because it brings us into the hospital setting and allows us to work alongside patients that have had severe medical manifestations of their stroke and their brain injuries. And I think with us there, if you think about it, your whole visual world, the way you interact with it is through your eyes. You look at what you're going to eat, you look at what you're going to grab, you look at where you're walking, and a lot of your daily activities are driven by your vision if that's how you learn to live. So I feel like us going in there and really making a mark on helping their brains heal and understanding their visual space is important. And I would definitely choose a specialty again. I know it's challenging and it's hard, but I think it makes a difference because not everyone can do what we do. And I think part of the reason I pursued it of residency is because I'm Canadian and I wanted to stay in the States. And it's important for me to have a residency to stand out comparative to other US applicants when I'm getting a job. So for me, it was important to do a residency. And I think depending on what your passion is, a residency is a good idea. If you're interested in just going into private practice, I know a lot of people will tell you you don't need a residency, but I've also heard a lot of people say residency helped them feel more confident in their diagnostic skills and their treatment and management skills. And I've never really heard anyone say like, oh, I wish I didn't do a residency. You know, it's a hard time. It's a lot of work, but I think it's worth it in the long run because it is something that not every optometrist does.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, doctor. And I know you have patients to see at around 12:30, so we need to sign off early. So since we have a little bit of time, we might open up to questions from our attendees for you to see if they have any questions that you might be able to answer while you're on with us live, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's see. For those who are attending right now, do you have any questions for Dr. Nicole related to her specialty or her time as a resident or her time in optometry school, since she won't be able to stick around for our questions towards the end? That would be a great time if you have any questions for her specifically. Alrighty, looks like we have a question in the Q&A. From Amy, would you say you get to see patients recover, and do you get to have a relationship with your patients?
I definitely get to have a great relationship with my patients, and I get to see my patients recover all of the time. One really great example is I had a 27-year-old motor vehicle accident patient. He was a young Black male in the rehab hospital, and the first time I went to go see him, he couldn't even say shapes off of the chart so we could take his acuities and measure his vision. We went in a week later and he could talk and he could speak. And then a week after that, he came back to the clinic and we got to do an evaluation on him and how vision therapy could help him, and other aids that we have to our disposal could help him. And it was like night and day. Like there was one, the first time I went and saw him, I was like, wow, like I don't understand how this person's going to live their life now that they've lost all of these skills. But it's amazing how quickly the brain can regenerate itself and kind of rewire itself and learn to work with the limitations that it has. And you will see, it's like, wow, is that even the same person I saw? The nice thing about the residency here at SCO and a lot of the neuro ones is that you can follow up with your patients as much as you want because you don't have the limitation of like, you know, booking slots. That's a nice thing about being at a school. So I get to follow up with them frequently and I build relationships with them all the time. And you really get close to their family members too, because a lot of their family members are sitting there in the hospital with them and they're just so thankful that someone doesn't think that they're going crazy with their visual world. So I think it's a great experience.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? All right, I may have one last one to end on for those who may be attending this webinar or who may be listening after the fact when the recording is posted. Doctor, do you have any recommendations or tips for those who are trying to consider optometry but maybe are on the fence about pursuing this field?
I think shadowing is really important and understanding other professions that you're interested in. Like I said, like ever since I was in elementary school, I was like, I'm going to go to medical school and I'm going to be a medical doctor. Like that is what I'm doing with my life. But you just going to the doctor alone doesn't tell you the extent of their profession. When I was in Canada, all I thought optometrists did was give out glasses prescriptions. I had never been dilated once in my life prior to going to optometry school. So definitely do research in the field and go ahead and shadow a full day. Like if you're annoyed after the first day, it's probably not a lifelong career for you. And it's okay to take your time before you apply to school. I was actually probably one of the youngest in my class. And I did a year of a master's prior to entering optometry school. So a lot of my classmates were like 5 years older than me. I even had like a classmate in her 40s. So it's never too late to make a decision. Just make sure the investment that you're making is right for you and your lifestyle. Like I loved everything about medicine and healthcare, but I knew that I didn't want to do surgery. I only liked the eyes and the brain. And that was something important for me. And I really wanted a really good work-life balance and be able to live my life the way I wanted. And optometry offered that to me. So make sure you weigh out your pros and cons of everything, not just the prestige associated with a position, but also what you want out of your life, because your entire existence isn't just your job.
Thank you so much. And remember, we do have one other question before you sign off from Trevor. If you are sure you want optometry, no other specialty, would you recommend biology as an undergraduate major, or maybe something else as long as you get all of your core courses in?
So where I went in Canada, there was a degree called biomedical sciences and biology. So for us, biology was like plant biology and medical sciences was like human biology. That's just what I was interested in and I knew I would excel in. So I did a degree in that. I have plenty of friends that did completely different degrees, like business degrees, accounting degrees, and they came to optometry school and they were fine. I've also had people that didn't thrive in the sciences and didn't learn how to study science after doing like an accounting degree and they didn't do as well. It really depends on your strengths. If you are good at bio and you want to pursue a degree in that, I don't think there's anything wrong with it if you're going to pursue higher education. Or if there's something else you want to pursue, just be aware that there may be a few fundamentals that you're going to have to work a little bit harder on, but that doesn't mean that you won't excel in optometry at the same time. I've seen it both ways.
Wonderful. And I believe that's all the questions we have right now. And then is it okay for us to share your contact information just in case any other students who are attending have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of slow at responding to my emails, but definitely okay to send my contact information.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Well, I understand you have to sign off, but thank you so much for joining us for this first half of our webinar, and we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so next up we're going to hear from Dr. Clark, talking about pediatric primary care and specialties that she specifically has been involved in this setting currently with her residency. Dr. Clark, I turn it over to you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Clark. For undergrad, I went to the University of Florida in Florida. My undergrad degree was actually in applied physiology and kinesiology. So in all honesty, if you do anything in the sciences, I think you're pretty safe. But there's plenty of people that I know that did not do the sciences in optometry school and definitely thrived. You just have to make sure you hit all your prerequisites. So not only are you going to have to do your major classes, but then you're going to have to hit those prerequisites that if you do a science major, then you're more likely you're going to hit them with your degree. So for optometry school, I went to Nova in South Florida. What inspired me to pursue optometry, I have worn glasses and contact lenses for a long time, since I was about in the 3rd grade. And specifically what ignited my passion for pediatric optometry was my sister did not have a very good experience when seeing an eye doctor when she was a kid, because my sister is very shy. So her whole eye exam, she was crying and very uncomfortable, just coming to the realization that her vision wasn't very good and the doctor wasn't necessarily compassionate. So we saw a different eye doctor the next year, and it was a night and day experience. And just his passion and just how kind he was what started my passion for optometry and seeing kids. So my experience in optometry school is it's pretty rigorous. It's a very hard experience. No matter how much you prepare yourself for it, I don't think you're prepared until you're fully in it, if that makes sense. What specialty? So I'm doing pediatrics, vision therapy, and vision rehab. So I do some of the stuff that Dr. Nicole does as well. She does way more of it than I do, but once in a blue moon, I go to the rehabs and I do see some adult patients. But most of my days when I'm doing primary care, I'm seeing kids all day. So for us, pediatrics is anything under the age of 13. So I've seen a plethora of different patients. I've seen a 3-month-old, and sometimes I see 78-year-olds when I'm in vision therapy. So my days vary a lot. I chose the specialty. I went over that because of my sister, and my passion for peds started there. So systems and diseases. So a lot of things that I see in kids are like high myopia or high minus prescription in kids. So that's one of the biggest things that I see. But I've seen a plethora of different diseases that I wasn't necessarily exposed to when I was in optometry school in kids, just because I see more patients. And with a residency, you see more patients. That's what's the biggest thing of doing a residency. The relationship with ODs and these specialties. The relationship with these patients, some of these kids, they come and they see you and they do what you ask them to. And then some of them, they're ecstatic to see you. I've had so many kids, as soon as I'm done, they come up and hug me and thank me so much for helping them and helping them to see. And some of them are really excited to get new glasses so that they can do better in school and see the board. So that's a relationship I have with my patients. And then sometimes my patients surprise me because I thought that they probably did not like me because I put in eye drops. And at the end of the day, they're still coming up and hugging me and thanking me for everything I did for them. And that's also what I find rewarding, just helping little kids be able to see so that they thrive and become who they should be in the world. A significant challenge. I really only think the significant challenge I experience is I look like a peds patient. So sometimes parents, it's a standoff battle. It's the parent questioning if they can trust me and trust my decision making. But at the end of the day, I feel like I do a pretty good job at winning over the parents and making them realize that I know what I'm doing. So a balance of my career and personal life. Well, it's hard in residency because you work definitely longer hours than you would when you're working a regular job. But I still think I balance pretty well between, I try to keep work at work. And when I go home, I relax and, watch TV and catch up on Netflix shows and catch up on my friends that I went to optometry school with. Impacting optometry as a whole, I feel like, especially with the pandemic and virtual school, there's so many kids that we have coming in that are needing glasses because of all the computer work that they're doing and all the near tasks that's straining their eye systems. So for sure, pediatric optometry is big and booming right now, I personally feel like. And knowing I would still choose my specialty. I definitely love seeing kids and it's my biggest passion. And I do recommend students pursue residency after optometry. Well, I recommend it if it's what you're calling. So if your calling is that as soon as you're done with school, that you're done, you want to go and work, there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of people who go live their life, do optometry in the real world and come back and do a residency because after working in the real world is when they find their passion of what they want to do. So it's not always that as soon as you're done, you have to do a residency. There's plenty of people who went and worked and came back and did a residency. But if life allows you to do a residency straight after school, like Dr. Nicole said, I've never heard someone say, I did a residency and I was upset in doing a residency. I normally hear the opposite of I regret not doing a residency.
Wonderful, thank you. We're going to hold off on all questions for the end after we hear from Dr. Sarros, but I do have one follow-up question for you, Dr. Clark, kind of to echo what I asked Dr. Nicole earlier. Do you have any recommendation or feedback or tips for those students who might be on the fence considering optometry or pursuing optometry school?
My feedback is also the same as Dr. Nicole's. Definitely immersing yourself in the field and shadowing, and not only shadowing one doctor, try and shadow different aspects of optometry because each sector of optometry, as in a school setting, a corporate setting like a lens crafters, vision works, things of that sort, a private practice setting. So that's just an optometrist who owns their own practice and they do their own thing, or ODMD. So that's optometry with ophthalmology practice. Those are all very, very, very different settings. And all of them are going to give you a different idea of optometry. You may like one and you may not like the other, but don't let one of them set you off to the other because it's up to you to decide which one you'll immerse yourself in after optometry school.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. And then ending with our panels before going into our Q&A. Dr. Eliza Sarros.
Hey, so I went to undergrad at Ferris State in Michigan, where the Michigan College of Optometry is. I didn't go to MCO. I ended up coming here to Southern College of Optometry for my optometry school, which was not planned. I had planned on staying in Michigan and just fell in love with the school here. When I was young, I had a lazy eye that had to be surgically corrected. And ever since then, I just really wanted to be in the eye care field. The more I looked into it, I decided I didn't want to be doing surgeries and have to go through med school and all that. So I decided optometry was the right path for me. I really enjoyed optometry school. I will admit I am not the best student. I do not enjoy studying and am not good at it, but I made it through and here we are on the other side. I am doing my primary care residency, and it has been a good experience. I chose primary care because I wanted to have my options open. I didn't want to just lock into just disease or just pediatrics, just contact lenses. I really wanted to be able to see anyone that came through the door and not be thrown off or not feel equipped to see that patient. I see a lot of like diabetic exams, glaucoma exams, and then every so often you will get just that normal patient that comes in and just needs the basic eye exam and refraction. What kind of relationships do ODs in this specialty have? I think it's what you make it. A lot of the patients I see are on our local like community care program, where they don't have insurance. They haven't really had healthcare be a priority in their lives in the past. So there's a ton of things going on with their health now that they have gotten into this program and are able to start getting the care that they need. And I think it's just important to build that trust with them, that you are there to take care of them and try to make things better, that you're not just trying to like oversell them or get them to do things that they don't necessarily need to do. Patients will surprise me every single day. You just never know what they're going to tell you, what they're going to say they've been putting in their eyes or doing for their vision. There's always something that they can say that will surprise me. Most rewarding, I would say, when you do get through to the patients and can almost have that breakthrough moment of like, you know, that they're understanding what you're saying, they're understanding what you need them to do to keep their vision where it is, and you've kind of gotten that relationship to click. I would say that can be a challenge as well, just because everyone hears things differently. Communication is so important. You're never going to be able to say things the same way to every person. You have to kind of change the way you're educating your patients and explaining things to them so that way they can understand how they need to hear it. I do think I have a pretty good balance between career and my personal life. It can get challenging, like when you have abstracts due for different meetings, or there's just a lot going on in the clinic, you feel overwhelmed, but just taking that time, maybe once you've gotten everything turned in, to kind of sit back, take a break, do something for yourself and try to relax and get back into it. And then in terms of this specialty impacting optometry as a whole, I think especially with the community care patients, if I can provide that safe environment for my patients, maybe it will inspire them to go pursue other health specialties or encourage their friends or family to come in and get their eyes checked as well. And then more people will just end up having access to optometric care. I would definitely still choose primary care as my specialty again, just because of how versatile it can be. I do have the option of how I want my schedule to look in this specific residency. So SCO does have some satellite clinics. One is on the University of Memphis campus, and one is over in a separate area of town. And they just all see different patient bases. You do more like soft contact lens fittings in those clinics, different age ranges. And I can kind of choose what clinic I want to be at on what day, which is really convenient. And then in terms of pursuing a residency after optometry school, I think it really depends on what your career goals are in the future. If you're unsure of what you want to do, then I would definitely recommend it. I think it's better to just have it and be done with it than a few years down the road, your dream job comes up, but it requires a residency and you didn't do one.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And to echo a question I asked of the doctors earlier, do you have any recommendations or tips or advice for students who might be on the fence when deciding to pursue optometry school?
So very similar to what's already been said, I would say go and shadow, talk to your family eye doctor, talk to people that maybe are currently in optometry school or did a different specialty but had considered optometry school. It never hurts to just send out an email just to get someone's opinion. Even talking to, say, 10 different optometrists, everyone is going to have a different perspective, a different day-to-day life in their job and their career path. And that was something I also liked about optometry. I could do one career path, say academia, for a few years. And then if I wanted to switch and go work in an ophthalmology clinic, I could do that and have a completely different lifestyle.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're going to turn it over now for Dr. Clark and Dr. Sarros. If there are any of our attendees who have questions for these two, now is the time where we open it up for a Q&A. As with the passive, you can use the Q&A feature that comes with Zoom at the bottom of the screen, or simply use the chat feature, and we'll be sure to address your questions. And then perhaps while we're waiting for questions, would either of you like to talk about your experience in the residency thus far, similar to your experience, or how you discuss your experience in optometry school?
I would say it's quite a bit different than optometry school. You don't necessarily have that set schedule of someone telling you like, okay, go to this class, do this homework, you have an exam at this point. You're more in charge of your schedule at this point. You do still have your set like patient call times. And then there's some other work that you have on top of that. We both are precepting students as well. And so that's a new challenge. That's a lot different. You kind of get to see the flip side as compared to when you're a student being precepted. Now we get to be on that other side and kind of help students, give some advice that since we just finished with school, we can kind of almost give them a better perspective. Do you have anything to add, Dr. Clark?
Yep, no. The only other thing I have to do on top of precepting is we also grade the students, and for vision therapy, we have vision therapy letters that the students write, and then I have to read them over and make any edits and then send them off to the staff doctor I worked with for it to be signed. So yeah, it's very different from optometry school. You don't study as much anymore, I would say, and you don't write as many papers or anything like that. You're pretty much just doing clinic care.
Thank you so much. And we do have a question that came through from Amy. This is for both of you. How did you decide which optometry school to go to, and what factors did you consider? She says, also, I go to UF and I'm considering Nova.
So I went to Nova because I am from South Florida and my mom actually works at Nova. So for me, it was Nova or nothing is what I always say, because I had a tuition waiver. So I got 50% off of school and I got to live at home. I did not apply to any other school. So my opinion is the worst opinion to take. So Dr. Sarros probably has a better opinion with life decisions than me when it comes to that.
So I, again, I'm from Michigan. I did my undergrad in Michigan at the undergrad associated with the Michigan College of Optometry. The plan was always to just stay there, go to MCO, be near family, close to home, all that. I did apply to, I believe, 5 or 6 other schools just because I wanted to have some backup options, wanted to keep my options open in case when I interviewed at MCO, I absolutely hated it. When I came to SCO, I was not planning on moving this far away from home, going south, anything like that. But the environment was just so friendly and welcoming. It felt like this was where I was supposed to be. I didn't really look into different schools like entering numbers like the GPAs and OAT requirements and all of the things that a lot of people will tell you to look at. That just wasn't something that was important to me. I was more concerned with how the school felt, how welcoming it was, if I thought I would be a good fit there. So that's kind of my opinion.
Thank you very much. But yes, any last questions for Dr. Clark or Dr. Sarros here before we sign off? Oh, excuse me, we do have another question. Oh no, that was just Amy saying thank you. Thank you so much. But yes, any other questions? Well, Dr. Sarros and Dr. Clark, if you wouldn't mind sharing your contact info in the chat box. So any of our attendees who may have any follow-up questions might be able to reach back out to you. I do see that we have one student who just joined us. If you have any questions for Dr. Clark or Dr. Sarros before we begin to sign off, again, we're opening it up for questions again for our 2 guest facilitators. Alrighty, well then, if those are all the questions we have, I thank you all so much for joining and attending our webinar this afternoon. I know we've covered a lot of wonderful information, and I hope this experience has been of assistance as you start your optometric journey. Our next webinar will be in January, and we'll be taking a break in December, and it will be all about financial aid, so please be sure to be in attendance. It will be hosted by our Director of Financial Aid, who will be talking about not only scholarships, but also student loans, the student loan process here at SCO, and giving you some great feedback and recommendations for how you can start planning the student loan process now. The registration link will be live on the website in the coming weeks. If you have not done so already, I invite you to request more information by signing up for our inquiry form, which I will show right here on the screen before you. If you do sign up for our inquiry form, you'll receive a personal advisor and a personal brochure with information relevant to your goals and experiences. I'm going to do one more check for questions. All right, but if that is all, thank you so much to all of our guest facilitators, Dr. Clark, Dr. Sarros, for attending and sharing so much of your time and valuable information and experiences. A special thank you to the attendees who have joined us live, and a thank you to those who will be watching this recorded on our website. We hope to see you all at the next webinar in January, but in the meantime, have a wonderful holiday season and a great rest of your week, and take care.